All right, Ty Salvant of NOLA Homeschoolers. It's so good to have you in the classroom today. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and you?
Good, good, good. I am doing well. I'm doing well. We are, just to give some context to our conversation, we are in the middle of about our fourth month of dealing with a pandemic, this pandemic that has rocked the world, honestly.
Yes.
It's turned everybody upside down, the economy, employment, and schools, right? So we are here today to discuss the school year that is coming up. We are moving swiftly. We're in the middle of July. We're moving swiftly into fall 2020 when our kids are supposed to be preparing to go back to school. But we have
Mhm.
this national conversation about whether or not it is safe, whether or not it is prudent, and so we're having this conversation. So can you tell me just a little bit before we jump into the specifics of why we're here today talking? Can you tell me where you are in the conversation as far as, and I know you homeschool your kids, but where are you as far as the conversation of going back into those brick and mortar schools?
So that is the $1 million question, right? That there are so many moving parts that make that such a challenging decision to move forward. Because, if you think about it from a business perspective, right, that there's a break-even point. There's a point where you have to have enough students there to end up paying for the lights, the electricity, the teachers, right? So if you have less than that, then it doesn't really work. You also have to have teachers who feel safe and comfortable in the classroom. You need to have students who feel safe and comfortable in the classroom, and parents too. And so you have some teachers or parents or students who may be immunocompromised or at a higher risk, or unfortunately around people who are doing silly things like the COVID parties that some college students were having, right?
Right, right, absolutely.
So again, there's so many moving parts to that, that I think that we can be hopeful, but that we do need to make at this point, I feel like we're on plan F. Like we have left A, B, C, we're probably on plan F right now, right? So you need to have a plan for what life is going to look like if you are not comfortable sending your child back to school at this point, if the school is only virtual and that did not work for your child, right? Because I think that as parents, we need to make the best decisions for our family with the information that we have at the time. So if you know that virtual did not work, although some schools doing things differently for the upcoming year. So if you want to give that a try, I certainly would. But if virtual doesn't work for your child, then you need to figure out another option. And I think that's what we're here to start to begin that discussion on what it would look like for you to homeschool your littles, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great segue into the conversation because, and it's something that I mentioned to my sister. My sister is the mom of a soon-to-be 5-year-old who started pre-K4 last school year, and she was doing a half-day program, and she was only there just a couple of hours a day. But that is magical. That it is truly magical to get just those couple of hours, get that the home just for a couple of hours, and it be beneficial, so everybody's winning. And when everything shut down in March, she was very, it was almost, it was devastating. She dealt with it, but it was devastating because she had become accustomed to that productivity of those hours, and with my niece being in the school system. And what I said to her when I visited about a month or so ago, I said, you need to prepare to teach her again. You need to prepare for home in the fall, because I saw that, the numbers were not necessarily decreasing. And I said, it's something about when we prepare ourselves mentally, right?
Absolutely.
Starting there, preparing ourselves mentally so that we can begin to take the steps, practical steps necessary. So that is where we are now with, okay, parents, the first step is please make sure that you are prepared that if your child, like you said, did not do well virtually this past semester, the end of the school year, if you are not excited about the options that your child's school is offering or providing, it is quite possible that you are going to have to take the lead on this. Right? And so if we begin, so we are going into this conversation with our parents already saying, okay, I realize I'm going to have to take the lead on this potentially, even if my child's school reopens. It's a possibility if we look at the Atlantas and the Californias, if we look at those spaces, then they are kind of backtracking on some of the freedoms that they've been able to enjoy of late. So with that being said, what is the first thing? Once our parents get over that mental hump,
Yeah.
what's the first thing? And we're talking specifically today about toddlers, about the babies, right? Which can be the most challenging to educate on. What's the first thing that parents need to be aware of, that they need to do in order to properly prepare to teach their little ones at home this coming fall?
So, one of the best things that I think that I did to help me work with my littles was to take a parenting class and to have realistic expectations of children between the ages of 1 and 4. Okay. Right? Because it's so easy to expect too much of them, to get frustrated when they are not doing those things in these areas that we want them to do, especially when they seem so smart in other things that you forget how young they are, right? So I'll say that, now remember, guys, maybe if you knew, you don't know that I have 6 children. Yes, that's 6.
Yes.
They are 18, 17, 15, 12, 10, and 18 months. And so probably about 3 months ago, the 1-year-old started cleaning up her own messes. So she would spill some water. She would go get a towel. She would come back and she would wipe it up. And it was so super cute. But so because she can do some things that some 1-year-olds are not doing, it's very easy to be like, okay, Sinclair, go pick that up, right? Or like, Sinclair, pick up the book behind you. And she's looking and she's like, I don't see it. And I'm thinking it's on the floor behind you. And she's like looking up and I'm like, okay, wait, she's 1, right? Yes. Remember, she's 1. So just because you do this one thing, it does not translate across the board to everything else. Yeah. Right. So I would say that first thing is having realistic expectations and understanding the stages of development for our 1 to 4-year-olds. Because if you have that, then you're less likely, at least, to get frustrated that they can't perform this task because you realize that developmentally they are not there yet. Right?
Yeah. So what you mentioned, a parenting class.
Yes.
A certain organization, is there a certain, where can parents find that kind of information? Especially, I'm sure many organizations are doing it virtually now. Where can they find that? How can they find a parenting class?
So the class that I took is called Active Parenting Now. You can still go to their website and I am sure you can do a virtual class. We actually will probably have a class on it through NOLA Homeschoolers, because I feel like I could use a refresher since I had a 10-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Yes, that's a major gap.
Exactly, that's a major gap. And so I have been wanting to do a refresher class on this. So we'll probably end up offering one through NOLA Homeschoolers as well. But you
Okay.
can certainly go to Active Parenting and look for where they may have classes. Honestly, you could even just do some Google searches for, parenting classes or age level expectations for toddlers, right?
Okay.
So we're going to keep referring to that between 1 and 4 years old
Got it.
as we talk about that.
Got it. So parenting class, setting realistic expectations. Let's talk a little bit about the scheduling. How important or not
Yes.
so much is scheduling? Because when our kids are in school, even if they're in daycare or if they're in an early learning center, then there are certain things that are expected at certain times. Some of our parents, from what I'm hearing, this mid-pandemic is, well, it's hard to keep a schedule, or she won't stay on schedule, or he won't stay on schedule. So how much pressure should our parents be putting on themselves as it relates to keeping a structured schedule or rigid schedule?
Exactly. So here's the thing. So honestly, we all thrive with a schedule. We really do. When you have your routines and you know what's going to happen, and you don't have to think about those things, honestly, like, it's so easy to get up. If you know that you go for a run in the morning and you're set to do that, it's very easy to get on autopilot and to do that. Right. But then, like, you're getting up and it's storming outside. And so then you don't go for your run, and then you don't get dressed, and then you might go back to sleep, and then something else. I mean, and like, it just throws off everything. Right.
Yeah.
So I like to say that we need to be flexibly structured. Right.
I
So
love it.
you don't have to say at 9:08, we will be brushing our teeth. Right.
Right.
But you can have great for our 4-year-olds. The 1-year-olds aren't there yet, but the 4-year-olds, 3 and 4-year-olds definitely are. You should have some clocks, right? Get a piece of cardboard, get some construction paper, draw a little clock, and say, during this 9 o'clock hour is when we have breakfast, get dressed, make our bed, and whatever your morning routine is.
Yeah.
Right. So you do that with them to start to develop these executive functions at a younger age, right? And from a 1-year-old, the thing is that you should be explaining everything that you were doing. Everything, like, more than you think you need to. When I would change her diaper at 3 months, I explained that she had pee-peed in her pamper. Right. I was like, oh, look who has a dirty diaper. You pee-pee pamper. Right. So we've been talking about the pee-pee since she was 3 months old. Right.
Yeah.
And so now she'll tell me pee-pee and pamper. I'm like, so we want to pee-pee on the potty.
Mm-hmm.
So, or when I am getting her dressed, I said, okay, give me your left leg, give me your right leg, right? Put your right arm up. Oh, no, that's not your right arm. Where's your right arm? Here's your right arm.
Awesome.
Right? So explain everything that you do ad nauseum, because they're listening and they're getting it. And so, you know how when kids are 4 or 5 and they're struggling with their left and their right, she's not going to be there, because we've been talking about left and right since she was 6 months old.
Yeah.
So she's going to know, oh, this is my right hand. Oh, this is my left hand. Right. So those are ways that you naturally start to teach your littles. Right. In the morning, when mine were little, I would put on moisturizer and I would count as I was doing it. So I'd put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots, and then I'd rub them in and subtract. Right. So we walk up and down the stairs. We're counting the stairs as we go up and down. So we're incorporating learning into everything that we're doing. So it really is just a natural part of what we do.
Yeah. So that's two different things, maybe two sides of the same coin. What I'm hearing is, yes, there is definitely a need and a time for structured instruction for, you know, in the morning, this is brushing our teeth, this is washing our face, this kind of thing. But there is also, same coin, different side, there is also a need to make sure that we are incorporating learning into the entire day, which relieves a little bit of the pressure when the thunderstorm happens and we have to maneuver and we can't keep the kind of structure that we expected to keep for that day. So and that just makes a lot of sense. What about curriculum? When we think curriculum for our littles, 1 to 4 year olds, and we're thinking, okay, we've got to go into this fall prepared to work with them during the pandemic. We've got to go and avoiding the regression. Okay, everybody's talking about, hey, they should be in school. The CDC, the White House, all of the powers that be are saying, you know, it's better if they're in school, which I have a whole different take on, right? But I come from the standpoint that, okay, for many of our kids, they are getting a good experience in school. They are, unfortunately, are getting more in school than they are in some of their tough home situations. So I do understand that as an educator. But I will, as that same educator, say, at the end of the day, it is my child, right? It is my child and it is my responsibility. So with that being said, what curriculum, if I want to make sure that my child is not regressing, that yes, she's out of school, but she's still learning, what would you suggest there?
So I would throw a couple of things out there, that some of these things that you will develop over time, right, and over kids, that you don't even think about anymore, right? So if this is your first child and you're like, okay, they're 4, they were in a pre-K program last year, now they're not, I don't know what to do, where to start. Honestly, I would suggest ordering one of those like complete curriculum guides, that one that would prepare you over the summer for the next year, right? One of those for pre-K or for kindergarten. You'll look through that. Don't make your child sit there with a pen and write and answer all of that stuff if they're not ready for that. Now, my 4-year-old will be like, Mom, can I do more workbook pages? Right? And I'm like, well, yes, you can.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, you can. My second son was like,
ma'am.
No, wait, no, it's just like, just do 2 pages. And he's like, right? So again, you have to learn your child, right? Yeah. But as mom or dad, you can get that book and you can say, okay, so this page of math, they worked on counting. So then you count everything, right? You make sure that you're counting, again, the stairs, you're counting how many seconds it takes you to rub lotion into their legs or arms. I mean, you just do it. You just start doing it. You don't have to use this pen and paper. You grab the toys that they are playing with and you say, oh, we have 3 cars and we have 3 airplanes. And if we add those together, then we have 6, transportation devices, right? Music. Oh my gosh, kids love music. Choo Choo Soul is one of my favorite, y'all. I love it.
Say it again. It's called
Choo Choo. So CHOO, like a train.
Yes.
Choo Choo Soul.
All right.
Yes, that is, you have a young one. I mean, that is the alphabet, the numbers. You learn about the bullet train and freeze dance. She has one on manners and saying please and thank you. I mean,
awesome.
Exactly, right? So music is a fantastic way to end up engaging your child and having fun and starting to create kind of those routines, right? I know for me, everything revolved around the food. Everything revolved around food. We ate breakfast at 8 o'clock. We had a snack at 10 o'clock. We had lunch at 12 o'clock, right? Okay. So then that naturally broke up our segments of our day into different pockets, right? Okay. You can end up, I certainly highly encourage you to build in like a 15-minute quick clean, like before you eat, right? Because I'm just I mean, I'm not starving my kids, but I'm just saying that the snack motivates them, right? So I'm like,
Yes.
quick clean before snack, and they're like, all right, let me
Let's
pick
go. Let's go.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So again, so that gives you some natural pockets now of breaking down your day in between the meal times. After lunch, we had quiet time. When they were little, it was nap time. When they weren't taking naps, it was quiet time. That gave me some sanity time, right? So, and quiet time, again, based on your child, can be from 1 to 3 hours, right? So some littles are taking a good 2.5, 3 hour nap. That's perfect.
Mhm.
Like, we don't wake sleeping babies.
Yeah.
It's just, if they're not sleeping, you can give them a list of things that they can do. You can listen to this audiobook. You can read a book. You can color. You can play quietly in your room.
Yeah.
But at a timer, and when that timer goes off, you may come out, because you certainly need to make sure that you're recharging your battery as mom or dad, whoever the primary is in the house.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Cousin.
I'm sorry. What did you say? The last part.
So I said, or grandma or aunt or cousin, like whoever is.
Whoever's helping.
Yep.
Yeah. I love what you are, everything, all of these nuggets that you're bringing to the table, because many parents, it may seem like it's complicated and it's complex and, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing. But when you think about it, many of us parents were already doing these things. And now we are just becoming conscious of, okay, and being more intentional about making sure. And so and what I hear you saying, correct me if I'm wrong, there is no magic bullet curriculum, right? It is expose, discuss it, talk about it, weave it into your day, all of those things, and try not to get caught up on any specific delivery method that they have. Okay, you have to sit and write it. You have to submit it this way. As you said, having homeschooled, not just having had 6 kids and sent them to traditional schools, having homeschooled 6 children of your own, I think we can pretty much call you an expert on the matter of helping us to become more comfortable with accepting our role, our kids' first teacher, our child's first educator. So as we wrap up this conversation, and I love it when they're short and sweet, because it gives our parents, our audience, some nuggets just to go.
Yes.
It's not overwhelming, right? So if you had to say, what is that one thing that you would say, if nothing else, you're thinking about having to teach your child is home, and this is very different, this is very new for most of us. What would you say is the one thing that, no matter what, this is what matters, this is what's important?
Ooh, that's a tough one, Ari. That is a tough one.
Okay.
Okay, so if I had to, I might have to squeeze in 2, but if I had to say one, I would say that at the end of the day, like, you are connecting with your child. You are making sure your child feels loved and accepted and marvelous about themselves, no matter where they are, right? So we talk about the fact that God gave us all different gifts. So maybe somebody can, draw better than you, and somebody can read better than you can, and somebody can do this better than you can. But if you spend all of your time focused on what they can do and what you can't do, you're missing your gifts that you have, right? And so as parents, to start to really look at this beautiful, bumbly 2-year-old and be like, okay, so what are some of your gifts? Like, oh my gosh, you are, like, I can see already how perceptive you are. Like, you read the room, and you know who to go to, to come to the computer and press the off button when you want my attention, right? Right? So start to look at those things And instead of getting, you know, frustrated that they turned off the computer in the middle of a saved document,
Oh, okay, sure.
it's hey, you know what? When you need mommy's attention, can you come tap mommy on the leg? So you redirect, right?
Yes.
You start to
Yes.
redirect. Honestly, this 1 to 4 age, working on self-regulation and discipline is huge. It is huge. We played red light, green light ad nauseum. You know why? Because when I told my kids red light, I needed them to stop. If we were in a parking lot and I said red light, they stopped. I didn't have to yell. I didn't have to scream. I didn't have to say, there's a car coming, right?
Yes.
Red
Yes.
light, they stopped and they knew. They knew. And when I said green light, they would go.
Yeah.
Right? So you really do want to start working on discipline and self-regulation, because it's, oh well, it's 11:30, lunch is at 12 o'clock, right? Because now if you had breakfast at 8 and you had a good snack at 10,
Oh,
right, you should eat until noon. You know, I
you'll
mean, like,
live.
he's
Yeah.
not starving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not, and you know, at noon they want a light lunch, that's perfectly fine, but again, you're not starving. So again, learning self-regulation and again working on discipline would certainly be huge, and will
Huge.
save you so much time when we get to that next conversation on early elementary school.
Yeah. I love it. Ty, every time. Ty, tell the audience where they can find out more information. You mentioned a couple of times, NOLA Homeschoolers. How can they connect with you?
Exactly. So we have a website, NOLA Homeschoolers with an S.com. Go join, become a member. We have monthly workshops for parents. We will have a co-op for kids in the fall. We do weekly field trips starting next month. And really, guys, in this time, what those look like are we're doing 2 outdoor field trips a month. So we're going to meet up at the park where we can be out in public, you know, socially distanced, but still seeing other people. We will have one on site at our resource center where we bring in somebody to teach us how to make chocolates or to do a cool art project. And then we'll have one at a location. I know in September we're going glass blowing. In October we're going on a cruise to Ship Island to go watch the dolphins. So definitely ways to get involved and get engaged with other families while staying safe. We also have a Facebook page that's public that you can go to. And if you're considering homeschooling and have questions, feel free to join our Facebook private group that is geared for homeschoolers or for people exploring homeschooling who just have questions that they want to, you know, discuss with other families.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for this, Ty. We will be back in the classroom really, really soon to talk next about our early elementary. We're also going to discuss our middle schoolers and our high schoolers. So everybody,
Yes.
stay tuned because we'll be back. Thank you, Ty.
You're welcome. Thank you.